Your face is full of need, Durance snorts. It looks to burst if you don't speak. I had questions I wanted to ask you.
If doubts and curiosity plague you, you're skinning your knuckles on the wrong door.
Why were we supposed to meet? The why of it is you're a watcher, he snorts. A watcher runs two roads of why. For me, it's more of a matter of what. There was a time when I wouldn't have spared a thought for your words or even bothered with you. But now, seeking out watchers is what I do, to put the truth to them, see which of the two ways they bend. He smiles slightly, taunting. And what two ways are those? Either you're a dry field in need of harvest burning, he frowns for a moment, his eyes flat, or you're lost in the darkness. Either way, you can see differently from others. He gives a half smile, then his tone becomes accusing. I can tell by the way you notice the staff first off. Not many can see it at first, nor the etchings or the flames, but your eyes. Stares at me, almost eagerly, nodding. Your eyes trace the path that I could see. So, which are you, a dry field or lost in a darkness? Durance's face tenses. The day we don't trade that question back and forth is the day our paths no longer need to be joined. And the trial? Durance's hands clutch his staff. The trial is done. So you don't know either. You know this nation is diseased, don't need to be a watcher to see it in the children, the politics, the men that stalk the roads with knives in hands and murder in their eyes. This land needs life again, new seeds planted in the burned soil. His voice drops, mocking, his eyes narrow. And something tells me that you can see the path to making that future happen, Watcher. Your kind always does. So then, we need to make sure you see truly, now. This nation, its people, don't need any more lies blinding them, nor do I. You test the truth. You don't blindly accept it. And how do you plan to test me? Sharing the road, of course. One truth to match another, matching each other's pace, keeping rhythm. Other priests can keep their teachings and rantings. For my faith, my teachings, sharing the road is a simple, hard truth. His smile widens, and his hands tap against his waist, once, then twice. And when you knock one truth against the leg of another, why, both legs stand firm. But now, if you strike a lie at the knee with the same force, his smile dies and his eyes narrow. Why, you make a cripple with but one leg to stand on. Is that why you carry that staff? Is that why I... Durance is about to launch another volley of words, blinks, then he rolls his head back and laughs deeply, the laughter coming until it seems the air will run out of his lungs, until it seems forced. Perhaps your words are worth listening to, Watcher. He frowns, any trace of humor gone. But the truth will win out. Keep pace, and we'll see. Let me ask you about something else.
The cost of troubling me seems to worry you little.
Why should it? You're a companion. You're on the road with me. I wanted to ask you about the region and its history. Durance grunts. Do you think that there's any tie between the Hullborn and the Godhammer?
Aethys was the god of rebirth, and his light does not fall on the Deerwood. I've heard some claim it's his doing, his death. It's closed the halls to new souls. I doubt it. The Hullborn have their roots in the acts of men, women. I feel it.
Interesting, though. He's closed the Durwood to the new souls. Let me ask about something else.
I suspect the answers will seed more questions.
Tell me about Magran. Oh, you know her. You must. He gives a bitter chuckle, then his tone evens out. She's a many-headed bitch. What is your view on Magran?
She's a goddess, as fickle as they come. And with all the failings you'd expect of an empress and a whore. Too many eyes, too many wants, too much to hold on to. That's the failing of a god. More aspects than words to describe her, like most of them. A god with many nations to oversee, only serves to spread herself too thin.
You think so? Although flame rarely crosses twice, so perhaps that is only truth she embraces. Who knows? Gods get greedy. When it comes to fire, fire is a god's hunger. What are her aspects? Durance begins to count on his fingers, chanting it off. War transforms fire consumes, trials purify. Warfare, fire, consuming, purification, and most of all, transforming. Trials as well, but all things are put to the test anyway. A trial can consume, purify, transform. They were all linked, although at its heart is the flame, and the flame is what matters. It is the source of all things. Guess they should have started with that, eh? Any fool around a campfire knows that. Without flames, fire, we would have made little progress in the dark. To hear some of the inner fires tell it around the hearth and bellows, even in the halls of Ashfall, you'd think that fire brought life to man, and that fire was Magran. Some of the older texts say she rubbed her hands together and they burst into flame, or another god shafted her like a poker. There are different perspectives on her, then. He grunts. Mine is only one sight among many. Durance frowns, pauses, then his eyes take on an eager gleam. But here's one. I can speak to how the losing side sees her, and that should tell you enough. Let me speak to what an Aedirian sees. Choose your next words carefully. The Aedirians have a proper, polite translation for her. Excellence in war. Tactical discipline. He snorts. That's why they lost the fucking colony, of course. They were promptly still quoting that while we had them bent across the decks. All their guns and cannons are fine, but useless when your staff is crackling light into their skulls, dispensing red gifts left and right. Durance's fists tighten, and he laughs. Aedirians call that elevation, divine awareness. Those words are as welcome as shit on one's boots, and that's all they took back with them while they were running. He shakes his head. A lesson learned, at the wrong time. Almost feel a pang of sympathy for them. Almost. Lesson, what do you mean? The title of a god isn't knowing a god, adhering to words rather than walking the path, testing yourself in the heat of it. Walk until the words are stripped away, and you feel it, burning in your heart. That is the lesson. That Aedirian politeness, that pretty adherence to the word of Scripture as they saw it, that burned their ships, scarred them, kept them running throughout the Deerwood campaign. He snorts. Divine awareness. There's no true faith in waiting to be tested. The best in battle have already shit themselves plenty. Shit themselves until they're dry and can focus on the killing. That's enough about Magran. I have other questions.
I suspect the answers will seed more questions.
Tell me more about the region and its history. Keep troubling me, and I may extend the tithe bowl for each question. Enough questions for now. Let the road keep us until the next campfire. Good enough.
Right.
Let's go then, guys. Through Death's Gate, the Acolyte's vision showed me mysterious ruins somewhere outside of Dyrford. The Lead Key has sent operatives to find the site, though the purpose is unknown to me. I don't know exactly where these ruins are, but perhaps someone in Dyrford Village does. And that's where our goal is this early morning. We also have been contacted by Stuart as well. So there's a job to do from back at Caed Nua. Assign. I'll assign Haravius. Dyrford Village. We have to head to Stormwall Gorge. It's raining. Nice and sunny though, despite the rain. Definitely not going to argue. So we've been through those ruins to the south. We'll just keep heading over to the east. And we'll reach the Dyrford Village shortly. I think we're about halfway there, are we not? I have to find out who that dead person was. I guess it's of little importance to us. There's death everywhere in the Deerwood. Oh. Been contacted by the steward again as a wanted criminal. Nary the Deft Hand is a bad visitor. I can pay him off, or I can escort. Well, let's send an escort. Kana can do it. Take quite a few, almost a week. Wow. Well, we have a whole village to go and look through. What's going on here? How long do we got to stand out here? I don't know why you're... Until we find her, so keep your eyes peeled. What's going on? Us, we're just minding our own business.
Yeah.
Really. Hello? We're cooling our heels until Meredith says the job's done. Who's Meredith? Oh. An elf idles by the road, watching the village across the river. He nods at me as I approach, and the cowled figure standing near him falls silent.
Well met, friend.
A slow smile forms as he eyes me. I've heard of you. Word has it you've been busy in Defiance Bay. He draws closer. I'm busy too, and eager to finish my business and get back to the city. What business is that? Haven't you heard? There's a murderer on the loose, said to have gone mad with grief and strangled a dozen healthy children when her own was hollowborn. He nods at the figures with him, who've come all the way from Defiance Bay to bring her to justice. Sounds like a worthy cause. She's here? He nods across the river. She's hiding out in the village. We'd go in after her ourselves, but the problem is she knows our faces. There's no telling what she'd do if she saw us coming, and we'd like to avoid any further unnecessary bloodshed. He leans closer. Her name's Nyfree. She's Norlin. We want to get her out of town so that we can deal with her cleanly. She knows we're looking for her, but if someone were to convince her that it's safe to leave... If she's a mass murderer, why didn't the Duke send the Crucible Knights after her? The powers that be want to keep things quiet, for obvious reasons. Better not to cause a fuss, and certainly better not to startle her into doing something drastic. I'm not so sure about this. Something is not adding up. He lays a strong hand on my shoulder. A mad woman like that is everybody's problem, friend. Just keep an eye out. If you come across her, remember what I told you. I promise I'll make it worth your while. Okay. Well, maybe I'll question her when I meet her. Yeah, somebody official would have been sent, like the Crucible Knights. I don't know about this. They could be just assassins and using the excuse that she's a murderer. This could be a whole bunch of stories concocted for them to get away with such a thing. So that's why if I run across her in the village, we do plan to go in there. Then I'll speak to her. She's in Orland, huh?
Huh?
Priests. Hail.
Out with you! I already told you what... I'm sorry. I thought you were one of those ruffians.
Ader grunts in disgust. These times we live in.
How may I help you?
He gives me something between a smile and a wince. What happened to you?
I never saw their faces. Strange hooded men asking about those ruins. Cleoban Relag. Most of the brigands who come through here asking about the ruins are looking for a few ancient trinkets. But these people knew the name, and they were in a hurry.
Cleoban Relag. This is the same place that we're after.
They wanted to know where Cleoban Relag was. I tried to keep it from them, but I couldn't hold out forever. I don't know what they were up to, but it can't be good.
Sounds like the Leaden Key were here. Eloth looks at me, frowning. That does sound like Leaden Key, doesn't it? It sure does. The old priest nods politely. Is there something else I can help you with? Can you tell me where to find the ruins?
The Glanfathan tribe that guards the ruins will kill anyone who trespasses there. And they'll retaliate against us, too, if history is any indication. We've had too many fortune seekers stir up trouble of late. If I'm to tell you, I'll need to know your reason for wanting to go.
Time to be honest, I think. A dangerous plot is unfolding there. I've got to stop it.
If that's the case, then we may already have trouble headed our way. I'll have to take you at your word. You'll find Cleoban Relag here. Whatever trouble you find there, please end it quietly and try to stay out of the ruins.
I don't know if we can do that, but we'll see. This is the Temple of Barath. Can you tell me more about Barath? Barath is the most universal of all the gods. It oversees portals and cycles of all kinds, even life and death itself. Under Barath, an ending is merely a passage to another beginning. Barath has many representations across time and across cultures. Around the Dyrwood, you'll commonly see it depicted as the Pallid Knight or the Usher. The Glanfathans, however, know it as Bunin, I-Anq and Anq-I Bunin. I've never heard of Bunin, I-Anq and Anq-I Bunin. It means life and death and life, respectively. You see them as two skeletal figures, one male and one female. Explorers have found them carved opposite one another in doorways, but I know of no particular legends that speak of them. Tell me about the Pallid Knight. She's one of the youngest manifestations of Barath, but a familiar one nonetheless. Stories describe her as a gaunt knight in black armor with black eyes, black hair, and milk-pale skin. She demands an impossible toll from travelers who have tarried too long on her lord's road. Some challenge her only to slay themselves in the process. Who's the Usher? Kith have written stories, songs, and poems about the Usher for centuries. Sometimes he's folk, sometimes dwarf, and sometimes merely a walking skeleton. He never speaks, but he guides the way to death and the next life. He also creates the circumstances for the wayward to stumble into their own graves. Thanks for the information. Of course, Barath was once more widely worshipped in this area, but it is a silent god. He smiles sadly. These days, people find themselves in need of clearer answers. What do you think is going on in the Dyrford? Folk here tend to keep to themselves as they do in the most towns this deep in the Dyrwood. They're suspicious of travelers, but with all the brigands and refugees moving through the area, who can blame them? Well, thanks for the information. Farewell. I didn't talk to your assistant. Hello? Talk to Beodmar. No one trusts me with anything more than lighting candles. Time to head out.
Right fetching feathers, lass.
Repeat, please, in Adiran. And stand closer so I can grab your neck if you said what I think you did.
That was Isilmir. She likes your feathers.
Thanks, but I'm not interested, Isilmir.
Oh, the companions I travel with. Let's have a look along the river. We go north a bit. Pick some herbs, river weed. A bunch of people. I'd probably read them if I wanted to. As I near, I feel the vibrant history containing the essence of this man's soul. Voices from its past seem to call out to me. Reach out for the soul. You see a Zorp gurgle gently as it falls to the ground, the victim of a small blade to the throat. A tall man in dark armor wipes the blade clean in his cloak before paddling onwards towards the next guard. Another flash and the second Zorp is down, and the next and the next. Finally, a scout spots him and raises a shout. Between one step and another, the man smoothly deposits the knife in his boot and draws two long swords, decapitating the closest Zorp in the process. He makes no sound but the sleek whistle of his blades as they pass through monster after monster, before one lodges in the skull of one particularly hard-headed specimen. Unable to break free, he discards his other sword and reaches for his spellbook. A cone of flames erupts from his hands, boiling the skin from three agonized Zorps nearby and causing the remaining to scatter. The earth shakes and spikes of rock begin to pierce the surface as a nearby Zorp high priest attacks. A moment too late, as the bespelled man moves unnaturally quickly from ground to ground, attacking the remaining Zorps with sword and spell. Sweat burns his eyes as he conjures an enormous ball of fire, sending it screaming through the air towards the high priest and her remaining followers. Nothing but charred corpses remain after it passes. He falls to his knees, panting. Almost 80 Zorps fallen around him. Just as he moves to get up, the ground begins to shake once more. Twice. 3 times. Huge footsteps, and then he dives behind a rock spike, a returning volley of fire singeing his cloak. The Drake has noticed him. Step back. Wonder if that's not from Odnua, where we were. More herbs. Golden celery. And this path takes up Cleoban Relag. That's where we need to go, but not right now. More of those reeds. Let's go into the town, or not a town, the village. I don't trust these hunters, whoever they are. Trackers. Well, it's a nice looking little village. A word, traveler. I only require a moment. Alright.
Greetings.
The guard sighs with relief as he looks at me. What are the odds, stuck in this backwater only to meet the famed champion of Defiance Bay? Barath's wheel brings mercy today, indeed. His demeanor grows serious. Perhaps you could help. I don't suppose you saw a young elven noblewoman on the road? I'm stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until we find her. Who is she? Lady Ailes. He bites his lip. She's the daughter of Lord Nestor Herond, and she's gone missing. He sighs. Perhaps you could go speak with Lord Herond at the end? He'd be grateful for the assistance, and it could be the villagers open up to you more than they have to us. That actually sounds like a good idea.